Remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell, and if this inspired you, hit that like button and share for the best in meditation, activation, and alignment.
Your subconscious mind holds all the memories of your lifetime, and your superconscious mind, your soul memory, holds all the memories of every single past life that you have lived. The stories of the karma that you accumulated are there. What happened, who you were, what choices you made to create these negative karmic blocks that we will uncover and release today. Even if you don't remember what happened, your superconscious mind knows, and we will activate these memories today. Release any expectations now. Just listen to my voice and come along with me. Give yourself full permission to come on this journey with me. And it's so interesting how this process of trance really works, how hypnosis works. Just as an example, if you've closed your eyes already, open them again for a moment and get a little more comfortable now. Just take a deep breath with me. And look up at the ceiling above you, high above you, and pick a spot there and relax a bit more into your chair. You know that when you look up for a few moments only, your body automatically goes into an alpha state. Now relax your eyes down again. I think it's because in nature, when we look up, when we gaze at the sky, into that infinite space, we start to remember where we came from. Our soul expands when we look up into that infinite blue sky, and we start to go into a light trance state. We remember something deep, something beautiful. And now just notice the difference. How different do you feel already from just 2 minutes ago? How just the memory of looking at that blue sky already changes something in you and brings you deeper, brings you closer to yourself. And now I want you to open your eyes and look up at that spot in the ceiling again. And as you're looking up there, you are moving deeper into that trance state, into that alpha state, and it's natural that your eyes start blinking as you're looking up and you want to close them. And you can feel already your soul starting to call you, drawing you deeper, drawing you closer. And it's interesting how a countdown of numbers has this magical effect as well. Perhaps it's that expectation, and let's try it. With 5, your eyes getting watery now, feeling heavy. Perhaps the descending numbers drawing you in. With 4, your eyes blinking more now. And 3, something about the numbers, the eyes wanting to shut. Perhaps feeling heavy, so heavy wanting to close. And finally with 1, close your eyes now, letting yourself sink down into the unity, letting yourself go deeper And just a little bit deeper with each breath. Your soul calling you deeper down within yourself. And now that your eyes are closed down, look up again under your eyelids. Look up and notice that you see bright light right above you under your eyelids. And that is because your third eye, your inner eye, is starting to awaken now and is starting to see the light above you. And now I want you to do one thing. I want you to start to see and perceive the light under your eyelids getting brighter and brighter now. And perhaps you can start to notice or see or feel or just know 4 points of light all around you. Those are the archangels that we called in, forming a grid of light and safety around you, making sure your journey is safe and secure. Good. And now look down again, and I want you to hold your chin down and lean forward just a little bit, because in front of you right there are 10 steps leading down. And now we're going to walk down those 10 steps together. And again, that countdown of those numbers plays its magic, and with every step you are moving deeper down, closer to your soul consciousness. Your brain waves are slowing down with each number as you step down from 10 down to 9, deeper down to 8, relaxing into 7, going down to 6, further down to 5, relaxing completely with 4, further down and 3, almost there with 2, and finally reaching unity at 1, and letting yourself sink all the way down now, all the way down, and noticing perhaps a floating sensation or a heavy sensation, telling you that you are now at a deeper level of trance, knowing that today your consciousness, your deep subconscious mind, your superconscious mind is ready to take you exactly where you need to go, because that infinite wisdom is opening up more and more with every breath that you take. And you have been called here today to this space, to this place, to this process for a reason. And you are in the perfect place at the perfect time now, because something in you has called you to be here and you are ready. And now I want you to take a few steps forward and notice that you're walking in a grassy field. The wind is blowing across the grass, and it's tall grass. It's playing around your ankles, and the green expanse is stretching out before you in slightly rolling hills. And you feel a deep sense of calm and peace coming over you as you take some deep breaths and start walking further out into the grassy field with a blue sky overhead. And the wind blowing through your hair, past your arms, and the warm sun on your face. And as you walk over the next little grassy hill, you see a white path stretching from the far left to the far right as far as you can see. A white path, and as you keep walking forward, you come right up to that path. And you stand on the path. And this is an interesting path. It's not just any path winding through that grassy field. You look closer and you notice that this has a very special feel to it. It's kind of shimmering and it seems to be shifting. It seems to be not quite solid. And that's because this is the path of your life. This is your timeline. The timeline of your life. And I want you to face to the right and have the left stretching out behind you. So you are standing right on top of that timeline of your life. And looking forward, you start to notice some shimmering pictures and patterns form. You catch glimpses of scenes, of people, of energies. That is your future timeline, stretching 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years into your future. And what I want you to do now, without turning around, I just want you to look back over your shoulder. Look back down your past timeline. This is the part of your timeline that extends back, all the way back, year for year, scene for scene, time for time back, up until your birth. Very far back, you can see a place where there's a light, and you know that is your birth. And now I want you to float up above your timeline. Float up so you get a better view. So floating up, and then finally turning around until you are facing the past of your timeline. And I want you to look down that timeline and start to see pictures, images of your past, milestones standing out. And I want you to look for some darker spots on that timeline. Darker spots, and your subconscious mind is starting to work. Looking for some dark spots, which are the imprints, the negative beliefs, the negative thought forms, the traumas about you not being able to have what you want. Those dark spots showing up your present life karmic blocks, about the lack of abundance, about not being able to earn and get and keep the money that you want, about not being able to keep the property, about not being able to have things of worth. Those dark spots where those things happened, those experiences, those root causes are starting to pop up. Just looking down that timeline and feeling those imprints, starting to have them come out and manifest, and seeing them. And perhaps you're already seeing some scenes, some pictures, some little movies unfolding at certain points in your life. Maybe a couple of years back, maybe more than a decade. Perhaps way back there when you were a child or even an infant. Everything to do with lack in your life. Not having, feeling poor, feeling incapable. And I want you to start floating down over that timeline. Start floating back, slowly looking down, perhaps seeing, perhaps feeling, perhaps having your subconscious mind just work for you, just witnessing, noticing the feelings, the points. Perhaps you just see a little dark spot here and there. Perhaps you see a whole scene unfold. Perhaps you just get some strange feelings floating over certain times in your life, going back now 5 years already, 6, 7, 8, going back, floating back 10 years, floating back over that timeline, and your subconscious mind knows everything that happened. Back and further back, knowing that your deep inner mind remembers every point in time, floating back, and now you're seeing yourself getting younger and smaller as a child. Perhaps there you're floating over the point in your timeline where you're 8 or 7 or 6 or 5 or even 4. And at the count of 3 to 1, I want you to drop your consciousness down onto that timeline. When I count from 3 to 1, I want you to drop down to that house that you lived in. And if you lived in more than one house, it doesn't matter. Your subconscious mind knows exactly where to go because you're connecting the dots. So with 3, 2, 1, going down, and you're looking at that house now. You're in front of your house. You see the front door and you go in. You go into your room and you are so much younger. You're inside. There it is, the old bedroom, your bed. And you perceive there is that old living room that you used to sit in, the kitchen where you used to eat, the old table from long ago. And there's your bedroom, and you actually see yourself. You see yourself, that little child that used to live there. And now I want you to ask that child a few questions, and as children do, the honesty and directness of a child, the child answers so quickly. The answers come shooting out like a gun. Ask that child, how do you feel? How do you feel? And the answers come straight up. The answers come shooting out. And the child tells you. I want you to ask, do you feel that you can have anything that you want? And that child is answering. That child, that subconscious mind goes right to the point. The subconscious mind knows all the answers. And now I want you to ask that child, who believes in you? Who doesn't believe in you? Who believes that you can have anything you want? Who believes that you have a bright future ahead? And who doesn't believe that? And the answers are popping up, are coming out, are coming into your mind so fast. And you know exactly how this child feels. And the child tells you, shows you the problems. Because your incredible mind, your superpower brain knows exactly where to go. The information is right there. Now ask that little child, who is showing you that they believe in you? Who is showing you and demonstrating and letting you know that you can't possibly make it in this world? And now as I snap my fingers, you hear the words loud and clear. You hear the words that led you to believe that perhaps you couldn't make it, that perhaps it's impossible to be like those rich people, impossible to get ahead, that life is a struggle, that you have to be born rich. And you hear those voices now, the voices that told you as a child that somehow you are not deserving, not good enough, not talented enough, born poor, always poor, work hard, pay your bills. Life is hard. And now I want you to do one more thing. I want you to go back in time to a scene where you heard this, where you got this idea that you will never have enough money, that life is a struggle, that you can't possibly make it. Your incredible mind taking you exactly to that place with 3, 2, 1, getting smaller, zooming in younger to that event in time, knowing your subconscious mind is taking you right there. And now, is it inside or outside? Is it daytime or nighttime? Who's there? What is happening? What is being said? What is your experience? And you see it so clearly, as if it were just yesterday. It's kind of like a movie coming into focus. You're aware of what's happening and how you're feeling. Your incredible mind connecting all the dots, understanding exactly what happened, what was said, what was being set into motion within you. Understanding that programming that was starting to take place there. Good. And now I want you to go back to another scene where you were younger still. So getting smaller, getting younger, going back in time even more, even younger, getting smaller, with a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now zooming in to that event in time. Now, are you inside or outside? Is it day or night? Where are you now? Who is there? And what's happening? What is being said? And what is your experience? Seeing it so clearly again, as if it were just yesterday, again, this movie coming into focus. How do you feel right now? And again, you are aware of what is happening. Your incredible mind, again, is understanding, connecting the dots, knowing this programming that was set into motion here. Now, one more time, I want you to go to an even younger scene. Going back, way back to that first scene, the root cause, the first time you received a negative impression, that thought pattern that started it all. So going back in time with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're there. Where are you now? Zooming in to that scene. Are you inside or outside? Is it day or nighttime? Who is there now? And what's happening? What's the feeling you're getting? What is being said? What is your experience? Good. And again, you are connecting the dots, realizing, perceiving what happened there that very first time, where that negative thought process, that negative thought form was being instilled into your subconscious mind, you just as a small child. Now, looking at that scene, looking at all 3 scenes, seeing that little child, what happened, looking at those 3 scenes, kind of like different scenes from a movie. You're seeing and realizing, getting the picture, what's going on there now from this perspective, understanding what happened, understanding the programming taking place. And you were just a child, so young. And now I want you to look at exactly the how and the where and the why and when you got these beliefs of lack, of not having enough, of not being able to make it. And just imagine those 3 scenes of when you were a child. And now think of a scene where this lack, this issue, this root negative thought pattern is holding you back. And you're connecting the dots and you're seeing how these early scenes have everything to do with how you are moving in your life today. Understanding the power of these negative beliefs. And also looking at those scenes, this understanding starting to open something up in you. The understanding is powerful, so liberating, so transformative, and you understand why and how those scenes are affecting you today. But you're also understanding something else, that little child is not you. That child isn't you now. As you're looking at that scene, you understand that these people, these happenings, these places, these incidents do not need to affect you anymore. As a matter of fact, they will not affect you anymore because you see now why this happened. You will never ever again have these feelings or find it even necessary to have these scenes affect you, for these feelings affect you ever again. And now I want you to take that little child, take the child in your arms, and tell that child how precious it is. Telling that child, you are capable. You are so talented. You can do anything you want. You can have anything you want. You can be anybody. And I want you to show that child a little bit of what you have today. Just take that child and transport yourself. Transport yourself from 3, 2, 1, right into the present day life. Show that beautiful little child a little bit of what you do have. Show that child the most beautiful room in your house. Show that child the car that you're driving. Take your wallet and show that child all the cards you have in that wallet. Show that child the nicest office you have ever worked in. Show that child a beautiful piece of furniture that you have. And I want you to take that child and wrap your arms around it and merge with that beautiful little child. Just merge with that child and take that child right into your heart. Take that child with you right in your heart. And you know that you will never let those negative scenes affect you ever again, because you know you owe it to that little child to show that little child that you can do anything you want, that you can accomplish anything you want, that you are capable, that those people are not going to affect it anymore ever again. Good. Excellent. I want you to look down and notice you are still floating over your timeline. Right at that place where you brought your beautiful little inner child and brought it right into your heart. And I want you to look back, further back a little bit, very close to when you were born. I want you to look at your parents. Look for your parents. And it doesn't matter if you know your parents or if you don't know your parents, because right there, close to your birth, they are there. And I want you to look, and I want you to see now your mother on the left of your timeline, standing there, and your father on the right-hand side of your timeline. And just catch a glimpse of how each person looks or feels, of how each one lived, how each one moved, how each one moved throughout each one's life. Perhaps one or both of them was in one of the scenes you experienced just now. And as you're looking at them, you're noticing their own belief systems and understanding how perhaps their beliefs took a great part in forming yours, and how they as well formed their belief systems in their own certain way. And now I want you to look closer and behind your mother and behind your father. Coming into focus, you can see their ancestors in a row behind them, grandmother and grandfather, and behind them another generation up, grandmothers and grandfathers. And you can see almost like a sea of ancestors extending behind your mother on the left and behind your father on the right, branching out like a tree. And it's funny how your subconscious mind works. Suddenly now, with 3, 2, 1, faces start coming into focus. You start to see the details here and there. You start to see the eyes, the faces, the hair, the color of the hair, the clothing, the ancestors going back and back and back, generation after generation. And looking closer, looking through the ancestors, now you can see, you can perceive the DNA running through each ancestor from back to front, running through them like a thread, like an energetic cord, through each ancestor, connecting each one to the one in front of him and in front of her. Perhaps it's like a red energetic cord running through each ancestor in complicated patterns. And looking at that DNA, you can now see those dark spots, like blemishes, like their own karma on that genetic code, where the negative beliefs, the traumas, the imprints were actually carried through this DNA from generation to generation to generation. The experience of the loss, of the lack of each ancestor in their own life, the experience of the poverty, the contracts, the vows, the beliefs that life is hard, that only the rich get lucky. That bloodline karma of lack and poverty and not having, winding its way through the generations. Look at your father. Do you see it? Follow it back. Follow those dark spots, those black spots back. 1 generation back, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations back. And perhaps you're seeing the scenes And each generation, perhaps little movies or echoes pop up of that kind of life that this ancestor lived. Why this ancestor took on this belief. Now look to the left at your mother's line of ancestral karma winding its way generation through generation. Looking at the scenes popping up, echoes, voices, little scenes of the lives that each ancestor lived, and understanding now why this belief was formed. And seeing now how this has impacted you, how this karma is moving through the bloodline like an energetic cord right into you, and understanding how these imprints, these traumas, these beliefs are impacting you today and strengthening your own beliefs that you have taken on. And understanding now that you are not your mother and you are not your father. You chose them before you came here for a reason. But you are you, and you are not your grandmother or your grandfather, and you are not your great-grandmother and your great-grandfather. You are your own powerful creator, and you choose in your own life what you believe and what you do not believe. And you understand now that you do not need to continue this bloodline karma, and you know that you can disconnect this bloodline karma now and forever. Good. And now I want you to float up a little higher again and look down the center of the timeline, and you're right before this bright space, right before your birth, where the timeline seems to stop and there's a very bright light right at the end of this break in your timeline. And you know that this is the time of your birth. And I want to do something together with you now. I want you to move forward into that bright light. Go beyond your birth, beyond this lifetime. And with 3, 2, 1, right into the bright light. You're surrounded by bright light. And you're going beyond your birth now. And again, your soul consciousness opening wide, trusting that you will go exactly to the right place and time that you need to go. Feeling the strong presence of your own spirit guides now. Feeling guided, feeling the presence of your angels, of the grid of archangels still around you. You feel yourself rising up and floating up within that bright light, floating up. And the strange thing is that as I count down again, it helps you go deeper down, and at the same time, you feel yourself floating up with 10, 9, 8, floating up higher and higher at the same time, going deeper and deeper with 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all the way down, and you're all the way up at the same time, floating. And now that bright light is dispersing, and you see that you are looking down onto the planet Earth. And it's as though you see time and space shifting beneath you, And your spirit guides are around you, helping you. And as you're looking down, your soul consciousness is opening up more and more. And perhaps you're feeling closer to your soul. You're feeling what it's like to be a soul, feeling good, feeling real. And now we're going to jump down into that one time and space, that one past life here on earth where it all started. That root cycle of lack and poverty, that one lifetime that was that tough one. Where you made that one wrong decision, perhaps out of a need, out of fear, or out of just having to survive. And your soul consciousness, your soul is so ahead of this process. Your soul knows exactly where to go. Your soul already knows which lifetime that is, because you have been waiting for such a long time for this moment. And I know you are ready to dive in. You're an expert at this already now. Knowing exactly where to go and knowing it's so easy. Into that lifetime where perhaps you entered into that vow of poverty, or into that vow of suffering, into that soul contract, or perhaps that negative agreement, that trap, perhaps without being really clear on what you were doing, where you made that negative decision, knowing that today it will be revealed to you and cleared. You'll see it, perceive it, and clear it, and now you are ready to go. Ready to jump in. Ready. And as we're counting down, looking down with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and jumping in and swirling down. You're swirling down through the layers of time and space, shifting, and you're going down, you're jumping down, zooming into that one past life, into a neutral scene in that lifetime. And you're almost there, and now you're hitting solid ground. You are landing on solid ground. You're there. I want you to look down at the ground. What are you standing on? Move your feet a little bit. Are you standing on grass or wood? Are you inside or outside now? What are you standing on? And each piece of information just comes to you so quickly and so naturally, because you're so ready for this. And now you know you're inside or outside. What are you standing on? And you look down at your feet. What do your feet look like? Are you barefoot? Do you have shoes? Are your feet large or small? And you look up a little further up at your legs and your body, and you notice what you're wearing. You're feeling the clothes on your body. And now you notice what's around you. You look around. Is there a building? Or is there a room? And you notice who's there, and you notice what's happening. You notice where you are, and you notice if you are far back or closer to today. You notice when you are. Good. And now I want you to jump to a different scene in this lifetime. I want you to jump to a scene at the dinner table with your family, with the people that you are around, with the people you live with 3, 2, 1. Now you're sitting at the dinner table and you're looking around. And you notice who's sitting there. Your family, who's there? Is there a mother or a father, or perhaps a husband or a wife? Are there children? Are there siblings? Notice who's there. And now someone calls your name and you look up. And now you're getting the feeling of where you are and who you are. Good. And now again, we're going to jump to another significant scene. That significant scene where you entered into that contract, that vow, that trap, that negative agreement, that decision. From 3 to 1, I want you to jump right into there and be there with 3, 2, 1. Now you're there. And you notice if you're inside or outside now. You look up and you notice who is there. What is happening around you? How are you feeling? And what are you saying? What is the decision that you are making? How do you feel about the decision? Are you doing this of your own free will? Do you feel bad? Do you feel good? How do you feel about what you're doing? If it is a little too much, it's very easy to just float up into observer mode because your subconscious mind knows exactly what's going on, and if perhaps it's a little emotionally overwhelming, it's very easy to just float up into observer mode. And remember that your angels are there, your guides are there, and just observe what is happening from above. And now I want you to go to another scene where you are living the consequences of that decision you made. A few years later from that scene, we're going to go to that scene a few years later where you are living the consequences with 3, 2, 1. Okay, where are you now? How are you feeling now? Look around you. What's going on? What are you doing? What's your activity? How are you living the consequence of that decision in this moment? And it's interesting how your subconscious mind is showing you exactly what you need to know in the way you need to know it. Perhaps it is a feeling. Perhaps it's a perception. Perhaps it's a scene. But you're connecting the dots and you know exactly what happened. You know exactly the decision that you made that is keeping you in lack in this scene and in other lifetimes in the future. You understand your brilliant subconscious mind, your higher self, your soul, is showing you exactly what happened in that lifetime, the root cause of everything that happened afterwards. And your subconscious mind also knows the power of collapsing a root cause. When you collapse the root cause, everything that comes after it collapses as well. Kind of like a card house. You pull out the bottom card and the whole house falls down. And you understand the power of this, and you understand the power of understanding this moment, of the knowledge where it all started, the lack, the negative cycles of not having enough, of not being able to keep what you earn. Good. And having gained the knowledge, I want you to come back to the present time and space. You are again in that chair, slowly coming back to the present time and space. Understanding what happened in that past life, understanding how your ancestors have transmitted to you those negative beliefs, understanding how in your childhood those negative belief systems have solidified within you, and knowing now that you have the power to change this, that you have the power to clear that negative karma. And knowing that you are so ready now to do the clearing process. In fact, your brilliant subconscious mind and your soul has already done it. As you have connected the dots, you know that this will not affect you anymore, and that all your negative belief systems, all that negative karma, they are collapsing like that card house. They are collapsing and collapsing and collapsing backward and forward in time, and you are ready to do the last step, to take that last step of clearing this karma now. So I'm going to count up from 1 to 5. And at the count of 5, you're going to open your eyes and be completely back in the present time and space. With 1, moving your body a little bit, and 2, waking up a little more, and 3, feeling more awake and aware, and 4, coming back to the present time and space, and 5, open your eyes and wide awake now.